Hey, thanks for tuning in. Today we're going to talk about some relocation tips when moving to Louisville, Kentucky. Hey, I'm Matt Gatewood, Principal Broker of Gatewood Properties in Kentucky. Thanks again for tuning in. We're going to talk about some relocation tips if you're looking to move to Louisville, which actually got some additional tips in here that are helpful, even for people who are native that may not know some things about. So I'm going to divide this into two categories. The first one's going to be about the city itself, and the second part's going to be about some construction aspects for this area of the country. So jumping right into the city itself, Louisville, Kentucky is known many times as a city of cities. What that means is there's a lot of different municipalities. It may be based upon an HOA, homeowners association, or it may be a lot of times what we call six-class city. So, or even some different class cities beyond that. Doesn't mean it's lesser of a city. It just means that it has different regulations to that. It may have its own different trash service, police service, and even a little bit different taxation depending on that. And what I mean by all of this is you might hear of places, St. Matthews or J-Town as we call it, or Jeffersontown is the longer name to it. Or you may even be in a smaller neighborhood. My parents live in one. We live in one where it has its own, we have our own police force. We use the City of Louisville Fire Department, but we have our own trash and police. Now, how that works from a taxation perspective is the rate as of 2022 for Jefferson County on average like 1.03. That's your real estate tax rate, property taxes. When you have individual cities, there may be some variation where you pay a little bit less to the county and a little more to your city to try to average out or be a little bit above that. So they're kind of giving you a discount for not using the City of Louisville's trash service, but you may be having to pay a little bit extra at that. Or in our case, we actually pay a little bit above is what ends up happening for the different services we receive. So that's something to watch out from a real estate perspective is where is it? What's your tax? Are you paying an additional $600 a year for something, an additional service? Do you want to be in this area or that area? So we're always kind of looking for that. Well, I want to use this police force versus the other, whatever that might be. So that's something we look at. And there's variation for that in all the different areas as a result. Another piece to it is Louisville is an older city. Very old, long history, which is really cool. It offers a lot of charm, and there's a lot of neat things to see within the city as a result of that. But from a real estate side, one of the things we watch for is it's a lot of historic districts that could be around. And where that affects things is they may have regulations on what kind of exterior colors you can paint on the house, what kind of materials you can use on the outside. For example, let's say it's in an area that says we're a historic district and there's wood siding and you have to replace this with another type of wood siding. You can only use these different colors. There are some newer neighborhoods that have regulations on that, like you would have HOAs and things. But specifically, there are some historical areas that make you have to get approval before you can do exterior changes to your property. So that's just something else we look out for. Probably heard me talk about this in pros and cons video. Jefferson County, which is the county seat for Louisville, the school system's a little bit more complex. If you're one of the surrounding counties, you pick your school or you pick your street and then your elementary, middle, and high school just line up with that. And Jefferson is a little more complex, basically uses an algorithm, literally. And you kind of get point system and things like that where you have residing schools, we have magnet schools, we have traditional schools, all that kind of stuff. So it adds a little bit more complexity to that part of it. So if you're moving in, it's one of the things I hear a lot from clients. They're like, help me understand this. And so we have to go into a lot more detail about that. So that's something just to keep in mind. It also affects from real estate side. Usually schools do, but specifically within Louisville, really trying to navigate through that can be interesting. Couple other just interesting side notes that I think are interesting. We're mostly on sewer system. So while Jefferson County is mostly urban, there are some areas a little bit farther out that may have still been on septic, but there are rules if you're going to build something new within the county, especially you have to have a certain amount of land and obviously perk tests and all that kind of stuff as well. And we have regulations on surrounding counties as well. But I just like to let people know we're mostly on sewer. Another really interesting thing is natural gas. A lot of the cities on natural gas. You will find some areas that are not. That might be only electric, using heat pumps and electric stoves. And we have some variation on that. Some people use electric stoves, some people using gas stoves, things like that. But I just like to let people know that there's typically an availability for natural gas in a lot of the areas within Louisville. Another thing that we're kind of known for is actually having very good water. So the water tastes really good. The wins like taste test and things throughout the nation as known as being a good water system through Louisville Water Company. So that's kind of some things just about the city itself, some things just to know in terms of before relocating. What I want to talk about next is construction. Because we have all 4 seasons here with weather, we build accordingly. Most of the construction you can see on the outside is a brick, a vinyl, a stone. You will still see some of the old wood. We don't see a ton of hardy board. We're seeing a little bit more of it lately, where people are starting to try to put that on the outside, and especially if they're replacing a vinyl and they want to upgrade to that because of its durability. But a lot of brick, vinyl, stone, things of that sort. In terms of the style houses you're going to see, colonials, ranches, tri-levels, bi-levels, Cape Cods. We actually have a lot of those. If you're not familiar with that, that's where the roof is more slanted up near the top, on the second floor with it. So that's kind of our style construction and style properties. Most things are wood framed, so it's not typically a concrete block where you put a stucco over it. We do occasionally see some stucco, but that's pretty rare. It's usually a wood frame. So one of the things we watch out for is termites. So usually termite inspections and things of that sort that we look out for because it is a wood frame built. We do have a lot of basements actually. Not all. Sometimes there's some rocky areas where they don't build them, or due to cost they didn't build. They might be on a slab or crawl space instead. I typically see more crawl spaces than I do slabs, but we have both of those. But we do have a lot of basements, or we even have a mix. It might be part of the house is in basement, and then the other part of it's on a crawl space. Whether it's an addition or it's the way they built it from a cost perspective. I see a lot of that variation. So one of the things we watch out for basements is make sure for water intrusion, waterproofing, work with waterproofing companies like that if that has become a case with some of the heavy, maybe spring rains, summer rains that we'll get. Cool thing about basements though, if you're not familiar, if you're not from an area that has basements, is they're really nice to have additional room or storage or things of that sort. Don't become a pack rat though, because I see a lot of that. So word warning, if you're not used to a basement, don't accumulate more junk, just saying. But they're really nice in terms of additional space. And so a lot of people finish them out. And that's one of the things we look at from real estate side of, is it going to add value? Whether the houses already have the finished space or we're going to add it. And it's a great way to add square footage to your house, finished square footage to your house. A couple other notes. Shingles is typically the type of roofing material we use. And most of the time we'll see them last 20 or 30 years around here. Obviously, we don't get a ton of hail, but we do. Sometimes we got to watch that for hailstorms and things of that sort. We do have metal roofs around as well, which last over 30 years, and sometimes you can see up to 50 years on those. But that's kind of in regard to roofing. And another one is piping. Because it does get cold and we have freezing temperatures, you're not going to see a ton of PVC. You're going to see more copper, or PEX has become more popular now, but you'll see more of that within the construction. So there's just a couple of notes regarding what can I expect in terms of like what does it look like construction wise with it. Other little fun side note, you do have fireplaces here a lot. You'll see some older ones that are we're actually some of the rural areas are actually functioning. They use them, some turn of the century houses, we're using them. But we'll use either gas or wood burning on a lot of those. This is just kind of a side note. Thanks for tuning in again. You may have a lot of questions from this, especially if you're relocating. Happy to help. Ask me any questions anytime. Happy to talk about it. And if you like it, like the video, subscribe, check out some of the videos that talk about things about Louisville, moving here, and other real estate details. So thanks, and we'll talk to you soon.